Today you're going to make the perfect pie crust. Now if you've ever made pie crust before, I want you to throw that information completely out the window. This is a completely new way of doing it, and I want you to give it a chance. You will notice that in the mise en place you have cubed butter and then you have grated butter. They are separated, and that is correct. You also have your dry ingredients separated as well. So once you've combined the dry ingredients together, you want to remove about 1/3 of a cup, and you'll see what's going to happen with that. So in any pie crust recipe, however, the ingredients need to be as cold as possible, and this is no different. So please ensure that your butters are cold and your water is cold. Into the food processor, you will need to add the larger amount of your dry ingredients, plus the cold, get that mixed up first, plus the cold cubed butter. Now what you're going to do with this is pulse it until it becomes a paste. It should look like sugar cookie dough at this point. So get it until it becomes a full paste. So you see, there's the paste. Then, using a spatula, bring out the dough, and you're going to break it up into about tablespoon-sized chunks. And I do have an explanation to why this pie crust recipe works. You'll see it in the module. There's very detailed information on what this does. And so the short version is that this process of making the paste waterproofs the flour so that it ends up having a crisp texture but not overworked and tough. So once I've broken up those chunks, then I put the remaining amount of dry ingredients that I separated, and I'm going to pulse this until it looks like streusel. Pulse, 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 pulse. Only a few times. See, now it looks like streusel. Then we're ready to remove this from the food processor. We're going to transfer this to a mixing bowl, and once we've done that, we can add in our other chilled ingredients. Now that it's in our mixing bowl, I'm going to add in my cold grated butter. Now this is going to create those beautiful air pockets and also that crisp caramelized texture. Grating the butter does that, and adding it cold. So now I'm going to add in my cold water, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And once you have added all of the water, you'll notice that the dough is quite sticky. And that is correct. Please ensure that having a sticky dough for this pie crust recipe is what you want. Keep in mind too that after about an hour or so, the dough will feel more wet, and that's because it has given it time to fully hydrate. So as it sits in the refrigerator, and it needs to sit in the refrigerator for a minimum of 1 hour, 2 hours, or in the freezer for about 45 minutes, you'll notice that it's much easier to roll out. So now we roll it out. Put between 2 pieces of parchment paper so that we stay nice and clean. And all I'm doing is I'm just patting the dough and getting it so that, because right now it's chilled, so it's got a little bit difficult to roll out. So I'm just getting it to soften a bit, and then I will do my rolling. So roll and turn, and you'll notice that once I lift off my parchment paper, the dough itself, it looks quite mottled or marbled, and that's because of the grated butter. And that's correct. So please don't worry about it being a little bit mottled or marbled looking. You want to roll this out to about 1/4 of an inch thickness, and that will be your pie dough thickness. In your ingredient kit this week, you will have a pie tin. You possibly will have 2 pie tins, I believe. So you're wanting to roll this out about 1.5 inches larger than the diameter of the pie tin. So you see I did a quick measurement there just to eyeball that. You always want to have a little excess on the edge so you can trim it versus having it be too small. So I chilled the dough again because it was getting a bit soft for about 10 minutes. And now I'm just, see how the marbling right there? That's correct. And now I'm just going to flip it over so that it's easier to put onto my pie tin. You can also put this onto your rolling pin as well, but since it's nice and firm, it's easy. So all I'm doing is I'm tucking it into the edges, making sure that the bottom has plenty of that pie crust as well. And I will give it a trim and then also crimp it. And once I'm done doing that, then I will be able to put in my cooked and cooled frozen fruit pie filling. So I'm folding over the edges and I'm going to give it a crimp so that it looks nice on the edges. You'll notice in my finished video for the blueberry pie, I end up doing a lattice pattern. So with whatever dough you have left over, you can definitely use that for the lattice pattern. If not, that's completely fine. You can just do a crimped edge like this one. So once it's finished, I'm going to do the crimping pattern here. Again, you don't have to. And you can actually bake this blueberry pie without the lattice pattern on the top, and that's fine.